The Finnish Football Show today welcomes a Finnish legend, known to most for his appearances in the English and Scottish Premier Leagues. He also has over 100 Veikkausliiga appearances to his name. A regular between the sticks for the Finland national team for a decade, it gives us great pleasure to welcome to the show Antti Niemi. Tervetuloa, Antti.
Thank you, kiitos.
So, Antti, as I summarised there, you're very well known to fans in England and Scotland for your time in the Premier League and Scottish Premier League. But before that, you had many games in Helsinki for HJK. So, how does a young guy from Oulu end up going down to Helsinki and playing in Veikkausliiga? I think I'm right in saying you were maybe 19 years old when you headed down to Helsinki.
Yeah, you have to remember that this is time before the Bosman rules. And I was only 16 when I was playing for second division in Finland, in a northern group, it was called. And that was quite a decent league for 15, 16-year-old guy. And I was playing through the under 16, under 17s, under 18s national team. At the time, I was the number one. And in Oulu, we had a club or a team who was playing in Veikkausliiga. I don't think it was called Veikkausliiga at the time, but this is back in 1990. And but anyway, at the highest level. And the problem was that if I wanted to play in a Veikkausliiga, somebody would have to pay, I think it was 150,000 Finnish marks at the time to buy the rights, because, like I said, this is before the Bosman rules. And me and Mika Nurmela, who's currently with us in the national team as a coach and a good friend of mine, we played abroad as well, I had a great career. We decided as a young guy that we go to another second division club in Rauma, which is in western part of Finland. And we made a deal that they can only ask 50,000 marks if we join a bigger club. So that was the reason why we moved from second division club to another second division club into a town that we knew nothing about and didn't know what to expect. But great experience anyway, because me and Mika, we lived together, just the two of us young guys. So many stories, which is probably not wise to share here, but it paid out because Mika went to FC Haka, who was a very decent team in Finland at the time, and I went to HJK. And the first season I was at HJK, I was going to the high school or whatever it's called, and I was kind of second or third choice. So I only played, I think, one game in Veikkausliiga my first year in Helsinki. But the year 92, that was a jackpot. We won the league, and I was voted the best player in the league, and it kind of like all kicked off from there back in 92.
Mm-hmm. Interesting for a goalkeeper to be voted the best player in the entire league.
Yeah, it was either that I was really good or the league was really poor. I don't know.
Or your defense was really poor.
I would like to believe that no. I think it's because we won the league and we had a lot of good players, so you have to pick one from the champions. So I was playing for under 21s at the time, and I had some decent games for them as well. So I think it was kind of a combination, winning the league and doing well in the under 21s.
So after that, you caught the attention of FC Copenhagen in Denmark. I think you were around 23 years old when you moved to Denmark. This is really interesting for us at the Finnish Football Show. We're really interested in the way that young Finnish guys of your generation and also now are moving abroad and what age they go abroad. Obviously, you'd established yourself as number one in HJK, so it was a natural progression for you to go abroad. But I was just wanted to ask, was it easier to go to another Nordic nation, or you obviously were excited to sign for FC Copenhagen, but you think that 23 years old was the right time for you to try yourself abroad?
Yeah, that's another story because, like you said, I had played about 92, 3, 4, 5, 4 years in HJK and playing in Veikkausliiga. After that season in 92, I thought that I might have a chance to move abroad. because I thought that I did as well as I could at the time. But this is, oh gosh, how many years ago? Almost 30 years ago. Times were different. Like we didn't have that many players playing in a good clubs in Europe. So now it's different. If you do well in under 16s or 17s or 18s, if you're scoring goals or making a lot of saves, you can be guaranteed that some English club is going to be interested in you. It doesn't matter if you're from Finland or Holland or whatever. But at the time, I thought my chance has gone in 95 because I already played, like I said, 4 years in a Veikkausliiga, doing well, playing well for under 21s, and I lost my hope. I started my studies as a physiotherapist and that sort of stuff. So the move from Helsinki to Copenhagen was a total surprise because it was one phone call from Mr. Pertti Alaja, who sadly passed away now.
Yeah.
And he had played in Denmark and he had many connections in there. So he called me and said, listen, FC Copenhagen is looking for a goalkeeper like today because the first choice got injured and they have to get someone. And they asked, is there anyone in Finland who could do the job? And he mentioned my name and they kind of bought it. And pretty much next day I moved there.
Wow.
So that was when you said that Copenhagen had, watched me or whatever, I think it was more like Pertti Alaja's recommendation more than anything else. And the jump from Veikkausliiga to Denmark, and FC Copenhagen wasn't the club it is today. It wasn't that massive. It's arguably the biggest in Scandinavia at the moment. But that was back in 95, and I don't know what's the word, 2 clubs formed.
Merged, yes.
So they were kind of done, nobody expected to win any trophies or anything. Brøndby was the club at the time in Denmark, and still is a massive club. And I thought that, it would be easier to move abroad, but I moved. I was alone most of the time, and the standard of the game was much better than in Veikkausliiga. My first 6 months, I said, I can put my hand up. Of course, there was some good games in there, but too many bad games, and the players were better. The strikers, when you had a chance, if you make a mistake, you're guaranteed to get punished, and I was kind of like lost a little bit, to be honest. I wasn't feeling too sure, living in a totally different country, not understanding the language, facing players that were far better than I'm used to. And then I only spent a year and a half. So my full season, the second season, that was better, and things really went from there.
So can I just go back to something you said about the young players being picked up quite early nowadays?
Nowadays, yeah.
Yeah, what do you think about that? Do you think it's good to go and get experience like in the UK early, like some of the players going at 15, 16 or whatever, or would it be better to get more first team football in Finland before heading overseas?
I don't think I have a right answer. It's a good question, and you hear that a lot. Depends on the person. Some people can be very mature when they're 16, 17, and some people, like myself, for example, if I look back, I was a total kid when I was 16, 17, and I don't think there's a one answer in that. But if I have to choose, I would say that if you get a chance to move abroad from Finland when you're 15, 16, take it, because you can always come back, and if you don't try, you don't know. But I have to be a little bit boring. I don't have probably the right answer for you at the moment.
I think as a show, our team is always a bit sad when you see somebody who's no particular names, but somebody tearing up the Veikkausliiga who then goes to the German 3rd division or something, and you just think, But then obviously it's also a financial decision, and yeah, as a kid, I mean, I grew up as a Wimbledon fan and a Fulham fan, and we'll get on to Fulham in a little while, I'm sure. But as a Wimbledon fan, seeing Marcus Fors last year coming in and doing really well, and now this year Jaakko Oksanen is getting some time in the team on loan. So it's good to see these players actually getting out there on the field as well. So yeah, over to you, Keke.
So Antti, it sounds like Pertti really kicked things off for you and helped you with that move to Copenhagen. And as you say, Copenhagen may not have been such a massive club at that time, but your next move, you ended up at an institution that has been pretty much a massive club from day one. You signed for Glasgow Rangers. So during your time at Rangers, you shared goalkeeping duties with absolute greats such as Andy Gorham and Stefan Klos. Do you feel that those guys, playing with those guys, that move helped you develop as a keeper, being around such great goalies?
Yeah, of course. That's another funny story how I ended up at Rangers. That was a pure fluke. I heard afterwards that Rangers came to Copenhagen to watch one of our midfielders. And we had a League Cup semi-final against Brøndby. And I still remember that game really well because one of the busiest games I've ever had. We could have lost 4 or 5-0, but we managed to beat them, I think 1 or 2-0. But I had a very good day. So I think they were watching that midfielder and then looking at, who is this goalkeeper? I should buy him as well. And that midfielder never moved to Rangers, but I ended up there because they were looking for options, probably a younger options, because Andy Gorham,
he was getting old, yeah.
He was there for my first season, but he was getting closer to ending his career. He had quite a few injuries already, and they were just looking ahead a little bit. And but then after my first season at Rangers, Walter Smith left the club, and Dick Advocaat came in and brought Stefan Klos, who was a Champions League winner from Dortmund. So I'm not a wise man, but even I understood that I'm not necessarily going to play for next 1 or 2 years. So learning curve, massive club, massive stars, wonderful people. When I played, it was quite a feeling to play at Ibrox in front of 52,000 people. So it was like, looking back, partly because of the luck, but all the steps I made kind of probably made me a better goalkeeper because I was in Finland, then Denmark, who was like, better than Finland, the league and the players and the crowds. You could get 10,000, 20,000 people. And then going to Glasgow Rangers, which is like a world famous club with international stars. And so even if I only played like 20 something games, I learned a lot, not only on the pitch, but like overall being in a spotlight and being part of the big club. So yeah, wonderful times and wonderful people, I have to say. Scottish people are really, really lovely people.
I've been lucky enough to attend a few Rangers games myself in the past, and absolutely, it's an amazing experience. The stadium, the crowds, it's just absolutely wonderful. And I've spoken to a few of my Rangers friends that told them that we were going to be talking to you, and they all have fond memories of you. So you must have done okay in those 20 or so games that you played.
Yeah, there was the only game I would like to forget is the Old Firm, my only Old Firm, who played away at Parkhead and we lost 5-1. Not because of me, they had a very good day and we had a poor day, but most of the time, the games I played, I did all right. So hopefully they don't think about me as this guy who lost 5 against Celtic, but they can remember the better games as well. So, for example, we played against Parma at the time in UEFA Cup.
Yeah.
I played both legs, and I think we drew 1-1 and lost 1-0 away or something. But playing against young Buffon and Nesta and Veron and players like that, there was fantastic memories.
He must be also doing some good for Glenn Kamara as well, playing up there and playing in front of big crowds and doing well, and his development in Scotland is also sort of mirrored by his development in the Finnish national team as well.
Yeah, he's I like Glenn a lot. I think he could play anywhere. Basically, he's a great guy. He's a young, down to earth young man, and also fantastic footballer, and probably mentioning any names, but he's one of the most important players we have in the Finnish squad, and he was a huge factor why we managed to qualify for the Euros for the first time in Finnish football history, because he's just a joy to watch, and you sometimes think that why is some players better than others, and he's got this funny movements and all. He always is, most of the time, is in the right place, and then he can get past people and just operate in a tight spaces, and we don't have too many players like that in Finland, so he's a big player for us.
I think one of those last two games in the Nations League, I remember just watching and thinking he's winning tackles, he's driving forward with the ball, he's got these lovely passes. It's kind of a bit of everything that you want in the middle there. We're big fans of his. We're hoping he keeps.
Yeah, he's a great player. But Glenn, if you're watching, learn to strike the ball. You have to score sometimes.
We'll clip that and we'll get that out to him and make sure he sees the message.
So I want to talk a little bit about your time in the national team, Antti. You were the first choice goalie for Finland for 10 years. I think you had some big gloves to fill after Roy Hodgson gave up national team duties and you moved in. How was it to be in the squad with another fabulous Finnish goalkeeper, Jussi Jääskeläinen? And I was interested to hear about that dynamic. Were you guys friends or rivals, or did you push each other to become better goalies? Obviously, there was some time where you were number one and then Jussi was number one, and I don't know if that was down to injuries but how was the dynamic?
It was good. We never had any problem whatsoever. Sometimes you hear these stories especially from the national teams, like, in the big countries when all the, 3 or 4 goalkeepers are massive, like playing for massive clubs, and they all think that they should be number ones and they have big egos and all that. And we never had any problems whatsoever. Jussi is totally different from me as a person. He's more on the background and not quiet, but he's probably wiser than me, but he's a different character, and I think that probably over the years when he was playing for Bolton and he was regarded as one of the best goalkeepers in the Premier League, and I was playing for Hearts in Scotland and still playing for the Finnish national team, so I wouldn't blame him if he sometimes thought that what's going on here, but most of the time I did well for Finland, and there wasn't any reasons to make any change the goalkeeper. But definitely he any other era he would have played 100 caps for Finland. He was such a wonderful goalkeeper, and the career he had is just second to none. He's unbelievable goalkeeper and unbelievable career. But yeah, we're friends. If we see each other, we talk. I haven't seen him for ages. It would be nice to have a beer with him or coffee or whatever, and just talk about football now that we both finished playing football. So
and Keke,
different characters, different personalities, but we got along really well.
Yeah.
Keke, did Jussi play at West Ham at the end of his career?
He did. He had a few good seasons. Sam Allardyce brought him to West Ham, where I was a season ticket holder.
Surprisingly, Sam Allardyce brought him to West Ham. Nobody saw that coming.
Yeah,
I was like, oh my God, how did this happen?
So I'm just thinking it's interesting, Keke, how Jussi's career ended going to West Ham, and Antti's towards the end went to Fulham. It's sorry, a little bit of Finnish football show politics there. We'll keep that out of it.
So well, that you told us there about how your relationship with Jussi, but with speaking to you, Antti, about your feeling for the national team, how was it to just pull on that shirt and play in Finland for your national side? You mentioned earlier that you come up through the ranks, you played all your junior football for the national team, but it's the feeling when you made to the first team, it still must have been pretty special.
Yeah. I played my first senior national team back in '92, but that's just a one friendly game. And then around '95, I became number 1, 95, 96. And yeah, I'm very patriotic person anyway. I'm very proud to be from Finland, and playing for the national team is, you know, it's just probably all the players around the world who play for their country will say the same thing, that it's quite a proud moment, because there's a lot of good footballers out there, a lot of great goalkeepers who never played for Finland, and to play for Finland for 67 times in the senior level and over 100 times in, you know, when you think about all the levels, it's I don't know, it's probably not a wrong thing to say, but I'm very proud of myself that I managed to do that. So
yeah, you should be. So I believe that in your last season there, Rangers won the treble, but as you touched on, you moved on to Heart of Midlothian, and you pretty much cemented yourself in what was the best team in Scotland outside of the old firm. I mean, at that time, Hearts were qualifying for European competition, I believe, and keeping right up behind the old firm. Did you enjoy your time in Edinburgh also?
that's an understatement. Like I said before, like I love Scotland, I love the Scottish people and the football and everything, but that was, for some reason, that 2.5 years I was there, it was like, I don't know what's the word, it was like magic. Like I think it's an awful thing to say, but I can't really remember a bad game. It was just that everything went well, like everything. We had a good team. When I joined the club, I think it was November 99, yeah, and the Hearts was 9th in the league, and we ended up being 3rd. And then same thing next year, we ended up being 3rd. And you have to remember, there's 2 leagues in Scotland. You know, obviously Rangers, Celtic at the time, and then, you know, Hearts, Hibs, Aberdeen, maybe Dundee United at the time, clubs like that. Livingston had a good spell, but we ended up 3rd in both years. And I don't know, I miss that time. Like, you know, I don't really miss football that much. Like, you know, that was my previous life, and now it's now, and I'm having a good life. But, you know, my daughter was born in Glasgow back in '99, and then we lived for her first 2.5 years in Edinburgh. So it's like great memories all together. And, you know, I just, the football was brilliant. I was feeling myself. I felt that I'm really important part of the team, and they were, you know, the fans liked me. And so, yeah, we went to Edinburgh a few years ago. We spent Christmas there, and, you know, it's just the walking around and looking at the stadium and watching Hearts play. And, you know, I'm really, like I said, I don't really miss football, but that 2.5, 3 years is really special period in my time.
Yeah, it's Edinburgh's a beautiful city as well. So I imagine it was a really nice place to have those first few years with your family.
Yeah, it's a beautiful place. We really like my wife, and, you know, she enjoyed it. And like you said, Edinburgh is like, you know, there are some cities and places in UK that are not necessarily pleasant to your eye, and not, you wouldn't go and spend your holiday in there. But Edinburgh is really, really lovely place.
Yeah. So, but after that, I think you were in Hearts for 2.5, 3 years. But then you made the switch to the English Premier League when you joined Southampton.
Yeah.
Was it always a dream of yours to play in England? And how did you find the standard of the strikers in the English Premier League? Was that again another step up for you?
Yeah, of course it was. But then again, I always said the same thing. But like I dreamt about it because I was doing really well in the Scottish Premier League. But I was 30 at the time already, so I kind of thought, like, you know, maybe I won't get a chance. Like, you know, there's some great goalkeepers in Premier League. You know, where to go? You look at the squads and you think, I'm not necessarily ever going to play there. But when I had the phone call from Craig Levine, who was the manager at the time at Hearts, and he told me that the club has accepted an offer from Southampton, I just, you know, said, thank you. I love you, Craig. We had a fantastic relationship, but I want to go. And he understood 100%. Like, you know, I wanted to test myself. Scottish League is better than people think, but, you know, Premier League at the time, and still you face the best players. So it was a test, but then again, after playing few games, you kind of, somebody asked me at the time, because I started really well, I had some, good games, and they were like, is it harder to play in England? And I for some reason, it was easier to, the defenders were doing exactly the right things, and the strikers were doing exactly the right things. And sometimes in Scotland it was like end to end, like long balls and physical fighting and whatever. And in England it was like more like I could read the game better than I did in Scotland. So it's kind of course it was harder. The strikers were better, but at the same time it was quite a more structured game, and you could kind of like not see, but you could see what was coming next. So
yeah,
brilliant. It was. I remember my first game when I faced Peter Schmeichel, and he was like my idol, and still is. He's the best ever. And I probably played about 5 or 6 games in a Premier League at the time, and then walking into a tunnel and Peter Schmeichel was next to me, and I thought, "You made it, son."
Yeah,
I'm on the same pitch with Peter Schmeichel, so it was like brilliant. And playing against, Thierry Henry, David Beckham, Ronaldo, Alan Shearer, like it was like, wow, what am I doing here? But it went okay. So.
Yeah. Was there one particular striker
it went
that
more than okay. You helped Southampton to the FA Cup final in 2003, but sadly you were injured during the game and had to leave the field. I believe Southampton had a couple of other first team players were out with injury that day also, and Arsenal sneaked away with a 1-0 win. Obviously you must have some sad memories of that day having to leave the field, but it must have been so great to walk out on it's every young boy in England's dream to lead his team out in an FA Cup final.
Yeah, of course. The week before the cup final was unbelievable. Like, all the media attention and all that. And we had a good season in the league as well. And, just making it to FA Cup final as well. It was like very good season. And, but you said I got injured in a game. Yes, kind of. But I was actually going into a surgery after that game. And I was like, I had an injection before the game to numb the pain in my knee. Yeah. And the doctor told me that, like, Antti, if this was a regular league game, you would be out. I said, I understand, but you have to realize that this is a cup final. I am going to play, do something. And I said that there's risks involved when you put the needle in your knee to take the pain away, body acts funnily, compensate somewhere. And,
yeah.
I didn't feel any pain, but then out of the blue, like taking a goal kick after 67 minutes or whatever, I was feeling fine. I was having a good game and I was feeling fine. And then just kicked the ball and calf went like snap. So bit of irritating, but I knew that it might be possible. And you said that I have a bad memories. No, I don't. It was a fantastic day. I did well when I was playing, and just knowledge that there was a risk, and I was going to a surgery anyway after the game. So I'm very grateful for the manager and the doctor that they let me play on the day.
So during your time at the club, Southampton became a team to be reckoned with in the Premier League. They had some again and again finishing in the top half, and there was I think it was 2003-2004 season. There was the memorable double over Liverpool, in which you saved the Michael Owen penalty in a 2-0 home win. Did you study Michael Owen at all, or did you just instinctively save that penalty? What are your memories from that?
Yeah, I don't. There's a lot of games. Most of the games you don't really remember. If you tell me that I played in Slovakia back in '99 and we drew 1-1 with Finland, I have no. Just an example. I have no memories whatsoever. I don't know who scored and how the game went and how we got there. But that's one game that I remember really well, especially because Sami Hyyppiä was playing for Liverpool and he's very competitive and he's a good friend of mine, and we played against each other. He was always like, if we did beat Liverpool, he was like angry for a week, and then he sent me a text saying that sorry, Antti, I was being a bit of an ass, but it hurts when we lose. I was like, yeah, fine, Sami. But that was the game that we didn't play badly, but Liverpool was really good, and we could have lost the game. You know, we went 1-0 up, and then it was like one way for quite a good spell, and then they had the penalty, and everybody thought, okay, this is turning point. They score from here, and then probably go and win the game. And I hardly ever saved any penalties. Like in Scotland, I had some League Cups, you know, quarterfinals against some team up north that, you know, they had like 100 people in the stands, and we went to penalties, and we always lost. I never saved any penalties. But that game, like, you know, a pure guess. I just felt that, you know, I have to go left or right. And I went the right way, and, you know, it wasn't, to be honest, it was a poor penalty from Owen. It was a good height, and, you know, but anyway, it felt good. And then we went and scored 2-0 and won the game. So happy days.
Yeah. So eventually Southampton slipped away and were relegated and in January 2006, you signed for Fulham for just over £1 million, I think. Mark will get excited about this bit now we start to mention Fulham. But
it's something I know something about.
Yeah. Fulham have had their fair share of Finnish players. I think last time I counted, there'd been 7 through Craven Cottage over the years. Most recent, I think, was Jesse Jornen, who was there a little while ago. But was it an easy decision for you to move to Southwest London? And how do you remember how that transfer came about and your time there in Fulham?
Yeah, I remember it. Like you said, we got relegated, and that was an awful feeling. After 2 really good seasons, the third one was really poor from everybody. You know, Gordon Strachan left, and we didn't perform, me included. So we got relegated, and that's a horrible feeling, unbelievably embarrassing. And then I started my season in a championship, and we had a decent team, you know, winning games, drawing, like, whatever. But that wasn't my league, to be honest. Like, you know, it was much more, at the time at least, much more physical and straightforward, and, you know, direct balls and battling in the box. And I was tiny for a goalkeeper, and then you're facing like all the strikers. It felt like all the strikers were like 6'4" and just full of muscle. And yeah, exactly. So I had some good games there as well. I remember I just felt that I was, with my qualities, I was struggling more than I was in a Premier League. It sounds stupid, but that's how I felt. And then Fulham came about, and of course, because I had fun memories with the Southampton and good relationship with the fans, and, you know, it was my club, kind of like I felt good in there. And my son was born in there, and, you know, just, but when you had a chance to, when you tasted the Premier League for two and a half years, and then you get another shot to go and play Premier League, then of course you take it. Like, you know, it's a non-brainer. Sad feelings, but grateful at the same time that somebody's going to give you a chance to go back in the Premier League and play in a Premier League club. And yeah.
Good times. So it was, I mean, it's quite often said that goalkeepers mature a little later than outfield players, and goalkeepers can have longer careers. But it seems that your career has really been an upward trajectory, and you know, you managed to keep playing for all of those years. Were you lucky with injuries? You obviously mentioned that you had a couple, but you kept yourself so fit to keep going.
Yeah, kept yourself fit. Yeah, you're right. That I never had any major injuries. Like most of the players struggle when they have to be out for a year or 8 months or whatever. Like, you know, the cruciate ligaments are bad. You know, something horrible can happen. I've seen that, like Achilles tendons snapping and whatever. I never had any massive injuries. Like I had a lot of small surgeries, like, but they were like 2 or 3 weeks or whatever. Nothing really big that stopped me playing or training for a year or whatever. And but the last season at Fulham, this is back in, is it 2000? When I have to count, 2005, 6, whatever, 2008 or whatever.
8 or 9, something like that. Yeah.
And yeah, so like I said, I never had any massive injuries, but the last 10 months when I was playing before I stopped playing football, I never enjoyed the football going on a training pitch. I was always hurting. There was an Achilles tendon, swollen Achilles tendon, or shoulder needed an injection or something. I was just feeling it wasn't fun. It's a horrible feeling going to a training center, put your gear on and walk on the pitch, and you feel like, oh my God, it's going to take another 45, 60 minutes before I even get started. And that was quite a contrast because I never had that feeling over 20 years. So I kind of knew at the end that, this is it. And then I hurt my wrist that I needed an operation, which would have taken me at least 6 months. And at the same time, Mark Schwarzer, who's, fantastic goalkeeper, came to the club, and I was closing into my career, my contract. So we just made a gentleman's deal that, I was always, more or less always, apart from Rangers, at my time with Rangers, I was always the number one goalkeeper. It was never guaranteed, but I knew and I felt that if I stayed fit and played well, I would play. And I knew that Schwarzer comes in, I'm coming back from injury maybe in 6 months' time, time to say goodbye when we're still in good terms. So that was the thing.
Mm. So as I mentioned before, if we go back to the national team, you were first choice goalie for 10 years, and as you said, you made your first national team appearance before you actually cemented yourself as the number one. So I think your national team career spanned 15 years in total. Despite being in such a talented team with some amazing household names, especially for us in England, there were many Finns playing in the Premier League. Somehow you guys never made it to a major tournament. But I remember the excellent 2002 World Cup qualifying campaign where Finland came third in a tough group behind Germany and England. There were some great results during that campaign. Can you tell us your memories from that campaign? And also, what do you feel about the current crop of Finland players and those guys actually finally qualifying for a major tournament?
Yeah, we had looking back, we had a really good team. We had obviously Jari Litmanen and Sami Hyyppiä being the biggest stars, like even in the world football, they were like massive names. And then we had our average players were playing like for Crystal Palace and PSV Eindhoven and, and such. And it was, it's a bit of a mystery for me why we never qualified, but that's, you have to respect the game and the results, and we weren't good enough. It's very difficult when you have Germany in the same group or England, even if we had a good team, you have to be realistic. But we had some individual games that we did really well. We went to Germany and drew with them and did the same with England in Helsinki and beat Turkey away or Switzerland away, but never really had a consistent run of good results to reach the finals. And that's how it went, that's what we deserved. And the current players we are very, very different at the time, at the moment, because we don't really have massive stars. I know the people, like Lukas Radetski playing in the Bundesliga and being regarded one of the best goalies in Bundesliga. Teemu Pukki had over the last couple of years scored a lot of goals for Norwich, and Kamara playing for Rangers. But it feels different. Like there's no massive names and then poor players. They're very at the same level as they respect each other and as footballers and as a persons as well, because the team spirit is like now being on the coaching staff, just look, I'm not that old. I know what players are doing and how they behave, and there's always egos and all that. But I can honestly say that this is probably the best. And I'm thinking myself, like even in the club level or national team, looking at those players and how they do things together and how they support each other and how they demand from each other, it's the best team spirit I've probably ever seen. And you need that when you're playing for Finland, because you're not going to outplay, Italy's and England's and, pass the ball better than run faster than somebody else. You have to have some sort of basic elements that you can success and do well. And you know, it's been said a lot of times over the last year now that we're qualified, but that's definitely one of the biggest strengths. But that's to have a good team spirit and good personalities. That's obviously not going to be enough, and you have to give some credit to Markku Kanerva as well. He's done a very good job as a coach, you know, and it helps for Markku Kanerva that he knows most of these players from, you know, since they were 16, 17, 18, and he kind of grew up with them, and that shows. And also he's a very hard-working coach. We spend a lot of, like, players are complaining sometimes, oh my God, they were watching videos again, and we, you know, at least they know exactly what we want from them, and they know the opponent inside out through the video clips. And I always say that, you know, don't say anything, because I've seen these already like 4 hours before you did, and we watched these videos for 2 hours and picked the clips, and, you know, so stop talking, just watch and enjoy, like, you know. But that what I meant by like hardworking as a coach, in modern football, when you have these tools that you can spy on opponents and analyze your own game. Markku likes to do that, and, you know, it's paid off big time.
Mm. You obviously
a theory.
Yes.
Sorry, Keke.
Yep.
I have a theory that about Roy Hodgson. When he was Finland manager, Finland was at one of its strongest sort of periods in your era, and also Fulham, West Brom, and now Crystal Palace. The way he manages these maybe underdog teams, that he the way he trains them and gets them, I guess, well drilled on the. He's kind of renowned for lots of drills on training grounds, so everyone knows what they're doing on match day. In a club environment, I understand that. Was he able to do the same thing in the national team, or did he somehow do something different as Finland?
Yeah, actually, I had stopped for Finland when he came.
Okay.
You know, I was like end of my career in a Finnish national team. So, but I always were in his squad for a few times and saw what he was about, and he is, in many ways, he's very similar to Markku Kanerva, because he's an old fox. You know, he's been around for a few years. You know, he's seen a lot of different cultures, but he's got a very strong mentality and very strong idea how he wants his team to play. And one story sums it up. And when he came to Fulham, we were struggling big time, like we were going down. And he took over. And week after week, training after training, we did the same drills, like, you know, starting from the back. He was walking players on the pitch like, your striker, when he's got the ball, you go there. When you got the ball, that's your first option. And we went through millions and millions of times, and some of the players were like, you know, these trainings are very similar and all that, and we never play five-a-side at the end. You know what the players are thinking, and then after one training, he pulled everybody together in a dressing room. So was it side of the pitch? I can't remember. Anyway, everybody in, and he said, "Listen, players, I know I've been around for a long time. I'm an old man. I know what you're thinking at the moment. I know that you're moaning. I don't give a... Because when you start winning games and we are in a mid-table, feeling comfortable, then we play five-a-side. Then we can have games where it finishes 8-6 and everybody's enjoying it and scoring goals, and, you know. But before we do that, we learn these basic things. And what happened? At the end, on the last day, good result, and we stayed up.
Mm.
And then it went on and on from there. Yeah, it's interesting that you see the similarity, because the way you were talking about Markku Kanerva was that he has that he works with the team and that he has the level of preparation. Maybe the methods are slightly different, but it's a similar mentality, like you said.
Yeah.
So, Antti, you obviously know the current Finland squad really well through your work as goalkeeping coach there, and you obviously you know the goalies even better. So, we want to know why does Finland continue to produce such great goalies? It's like the list is pretty long. It's you know, we've got Olli Hyttönen from back in the day, yourself, Jussi Jääskeläinen, who we mentioned. There was Peter Enkelman, who also played in Premier League, and then we've had current crop of Radetzky, Jesse Jörnen, Hugo Ketto, who is up and coming as well. He's had a few games in Arsenal, I think, and now doing well back in HJK. So is this all down to your strategy, or what's the secret behind that?
Yeah, Anssi Jaakkola, Nicky Mäenpää played in England, in Scotland. Then we have a number of goalkeepers who played in Norway, Sweden. Like we have produced some good goalkeepers. Good question. I don't know. I think it must be one of the biggest factors must be that the Finnish, like our personality fits well into goalkeeping. You know, sometimes you see these goalkeepers, you know, all over the world, like, you know, when they lose a goal, they kick the goalpost and they always like reacting like massively to different things. And I think it helps being in a goal, in playing in goals is like, you know, you have to be quite steady personality, not only on the match day, but like also on training pitch, like, and that fits also to Finnish footballers overall. I think we are, you know, pretty hardworking, down to earth, you know, we don't have big egos or anything like that. It's just it reflects how Finnish people are and behave. But otherwise, I don't really, because we never, like, I look back to the 70s when I was a kid, 80s, 90s, I was playing at the highest level in Finland. I never had a goalkeeping coach until I was 20 something. Like I was just playing in goals and, you know, doing whatever I felt best. Thankfully now, over the last, I would say 10 years, there's more structure, and we had some really talented and professional people working in the, you know, goalkeeping coaching department, and, you know, teaching younger coaches and all that. So that it's much more organized, and we have some things that we feel that kids need to be taught and all that. But why any Finnish goalkeeper who's like today, who's like over 35, I managed to make a career in abroad, I can't really think of any good reasons. It sounds funny, but like, you know, just hard work, good personality, can handle pressure, works hard. That's it.
I think you're really right, and especially as you mentioned that attitude, especially with this current national team, goes right throughout the team. You know, there's no huge egos. Everybody's working together, and I think we can say that is a Finnish mentality. So I think you're really spot on there. One other thing I wanted to ask you about your career is that I know that we hear a lot in England that footballers have a lot of superstitions. And I've had a look over your career, and you've had many squad numbers. I've seen 13, 26, 14, 29. Are you not precious about your number at all? Because we talked about Jääskeläinen before, and I always remember him being 22. He even wore 22 in national team a couple of times, I think. But so
and the jersey hanging out on his knees.
Yeah.
Yeah. About the squad numbers, there's no logic whatsoever. All the moves I made from HJK to Copenhagen, it was the middle of the season, so obviously the certain numbers were occupied. Glasgow Rangers was the only place I went, but number 1 jersey belonged to a guy called Andy.
The goalie.
Hearts, yes. Hearts, transfer, middle of the season.
Yeah.
Southampton, middle of the season. Fulham, middle of the season. So I just took whatever. So no superstitions there. I didn't pick any. I just look at what's left and then thought that might look all right on the back of my. That's the reason why. But no superstition. I was quite of a. I never had any, like, I had to do something before the game. So I just went and played, and But there were a lot of players that were scarily superstitious. Like, you know, you're thinking like,
yeah,
you really think that's gonna help you play better? Like, you know, some funny stories over the years.
yeah. So finally, Antti, can you tell us of your hopes for Finnish football for the future? Not just the national team at the Euros when we finally get to play those, but also growing the game in Finland and among young Finnish boys and girls. We see that, you know, I hate to say it, but we can look to countries like Iceland who have really invested in some infrastructure and on a national level decided that, okay, this is what we're going to do. And I think Finland has maybe followed suit a little bit, and this Euro qualification is going to do absolute wonders for growing our sport in the country. But can you just outline for us your hopes and dreams for the football in Finland?
Yeah, I think, like you said, we're in a good way at the moment. Like, you know, there are a lot of people working really hard to make Finnish football better. And we can see, like, if you look at our national teams, like youth teams now, there are more and more talented, good players coming through. Like, you know, I was just talking about it with someone, I think it was yesterday, the day before. Yesterday, I was talking with my friend who was playing football until he was like 18 and then stopped, and we're still good friends. And he just asked me the same question, like, how does it look at the moment? Like, you know, when you look at the younger ones, is it better than, you know, when we were playing? And I said exactly the same thing. I said, there's more numbers, like much more talent. Nobody knows if they're ever going to play for a national team or move abroad and have a good career in a professional footballer. But like potential is there, and it's like the numbers are growing all the time. And that comes down to earth. That comes down to the fact that it's just a hard work. And I think the people who are working for the FA at the moment, there's some good, wise people who know that you have to do certain things by certain structure to produce good players. So it's not going to be like you have Jari Litmanen once in 50 years or Jussi Askeläinen coming through the ranks and having great like professional career. We are doing like, and the clubs are doing a lot better than, you know, even 10, 15 years ago. I know some of the younger coaches now, and I look at them and I see some brilliant passion in there, like they dedicated their lives to make young footballers better. Like there are more and more and more of those people. So no tricks. I'm not dreaming about anything. I know that we are going into the right direction, and getting into the European finals is obviously gonna, like, a lot of kids are gonna watch Finland qualifying and playing for the Euros hopefully next year and think that anything is possible. Even if I'm from Finland and for 6 months of the year it's dark and snowy and miserable, we can still produce players who are playing in a European finals or whatever. And I just see that that's the way to go forward. But already you have to remember that if you look at any sports in Finland, football is already the biggest one. We have biggest numbers, like, from any sports. But unfortunately, I love sports like any sports, but unfortunately we have some, you know, strong other sports as well, like ice hockey, for example. You know, in Italy and Spain, they don't have to worry about the ice hockey. Like, they all want to play football, so we are facing a little bit of competition, but we are going the right direction, and things are only get better. But at the time, you have to be realistic and realize that we are not necessarily going to qualify for every major tournament. That's the fact. I'm sorry, because these countries who are doing well at the moment and who's done well over the 100 years, like Germany, Holland, England, they are also, you know, making wise decisions all the time and thinking how they can be better and so on. So it's a tough sport. If you want to be a Finnish football fan, you know, you're in for a ride, because there's no guarantees, like, you know, but we love it.
Yeah, Keke. Yeah. It's not all about getting on the pitch and holding Tim Sparv up in the air. It doesn't happen every year, you know.
No. That's true.
Not every year, but, you know, we'll hold on to that one for the moment and see.
I honestly, sorry to interrupt you, but I think the hardest thing over the 100 years, I think that the best thing that happened with this qualifying for the Euros is that it's the first time, and we finally made it. So hopefully in coming years, it's going to be easier for some people. So that's the biggest thing, qualifying for the first time.
And Finnish people always get behind their national team when they're doing well at something, whatever the sport is. So if the national team does well, even getting to the Euros is doing well, then the whole country will follow and will be talking about it. And hopefully it encourages them to get down to their local clubs, and you get a bit of an increase in the Veikkausliiga as well. That would be nice.
Yeah. Exactly. Good point.
So, Antti, we know that you're watching the clock because you have another important meeting after this one. But just before you go, I just wanted to say thank you so much for your time. I know that we've been talking via the social media for quite some time to get this done. So I really appreciate you taking the time to speak to us. But you've been really busy with your business commitments as well as the national team. Do you want to tell us what you've been up to with your sports shot and what the situation is with that?
Yeah, about 2.5 years ago, me and my friend had a crazy idea to start producing products. Or now we have 4. It's a long story, but we started with the beetroot shot, which is a regular thing in Spain or England. Players drink that because beetroot shot, they include nitrates, and that makes certain things in human body and blah 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 blah. If I knew 2 years ago how much hard work and how many kilometers on the car and how much time and maybe money it would take, I'm not sure if I jumped into this chance. But things are looking good at the moment. We had some big markets taking our products, but it's like football, it doesn't happen overnight, and
that's it.
And we're in a good way, and I'm really excited about it, because the reason I always felt like when I was playing football, and now I've been coaching, that when I die, and 5 seconds before I die, I close my eyes and I think, what have I done with my life? Great family, decent footballing career, but really everything you've done in your life has been in somewhere related to football. So I wanted to try something totally different and go out from my comfort zone and maybe learn some new stuff and try and build something. And it's definitely a challenge at the moment and hard business, but enjoying it, and it's looking really good.
Good. Well, we wish you all the luck with that, and you can, those 5 seconds before you pop off to heaven, you can be safe in the knowledge that you've given us lots of pleasure watching you make all those saves on the football pitch. So you can relax with that one. But once again, Antti, kiitos, and make sure you say hello to Rive and all those other guys from the Finnish Football Show when you join your next meeting.
I will. That will be on Monday.
Thanks.
Lovely.
Thanks a lot, Antti.
Okay. Thank you.
Kiitos,
Bye-bye.
Antti.
Kiitos.
Moikka.
Bye.
Bye.